98 Not Out, sponsored by Shepherd Neame, proud supporters of cricket in Essex.
Welcome to 98 Not Out. Again, back a friend of the show, Jaik Mickleburgh. Jake, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Brett. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad at all. I'm, getting there. We've got the window open now. We've got some fresh air coming in. I've got to look at Darren. That's the only downside. But,
I'm wondering why you wanted the window open, but yes.
Not bad on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Now, you've been listening tonight, haven't you?
Yeah, my first listening to the show. Obviously, I've done a couple of interviews previously with Darren, but yeah, it's the first time I've listened, and I have to say it's been a good listen. A lot of interesting topics involved in the current game.
Excellent.
One of the things go on, Darren, you just picked up, didn't you?
Well, just when I was just lining up on the phone a minute ago, you just we started talking about what we've been talking about before the music. So let's carry on with that. So we were talking about Essex and probably the way a lot of counties are structured with their members. And you were saying to me a few things about how having spent so much time at Essex, how you see it from sort of the playing point of view.
Yeah, look, obviously I haven't been there for 3 years as a player. Last year, I was working a little bit with some of the younger batters coming through, just passing on some of my knowledge that I gained from my time at the club. But one of the things, as you've discussed, which I totally agree with, was obviously, the club's being owned and having an owner. The marketing teams at the clubs are so good now. Darryl Fox obviously does a really good job at the club. And I see no reason why the club in the future, or all of the counties in the future, can't go down that road. Obviously, Essex will be a great appeal, having won 2 championships and a T20 in the last 3 years. The trophies, they don't get much better than that.
No, I wonder how that would go down. I mean, it's something that I think has been talked about at the club and amongst some of the bigger sponsors and the more wealthy supporters of the club, about taking the club private, and as Brett was saying, putting it along the lines of how a football club is set up, that you take it away from being a members club, the members become supporters or season ticket holders, and then you get what would amount to probably being a shareholder structure, with someone holding a majority shareholding. Do you think that's a possibility? We could start seeing that happening?
Yeah, possibly. I think I think you just discussed there. There's 4,000 members. Obviously, they would need to be looked after. But the sums of money that we're talking about here, I'm sure that's not going to be a big a big difficulty for these big owners coming in. They want to broadcast the games over in the likes of India, where obviously cricket is as big as it gets, and that's where they're gonna make their money back, and they're not afraid to lose a little bit as well.
In a sense, if say some foreign owners did come in, there would be the chance even of working with the BCCI and seeing some more younger Indian players maybe playing on the county championship circuit to give it a bit of an appeal in those countries.
Yeah, look, there's obviously, I've heard lots of interviews with lots of players about them talking about the Indian players that don't even get a look in over there, and there's some sensational talent. I've obviously been on a couple of tours there with Essex in my younger days, and there's boys and girls coming through now that are just on another level.
Well, look at the World Cup, the Women's World Cup that just happened.
Exactly, so there's some serious talent out there, and we've got to take their next steps in the game, I believe.
I think I dug a statistic out last week, the week before, about the amount of people that follow cricket around the world. Was it 1 billion?
Yeah, something.
It was 1 billion people around the world follow cricket, and of that billion, it's some ridiculous percentage that are Indian or of that inclination.
Well, I saw a stat earlier that when Kohli scores 100 in Test match cricket to when he scores one in one-day cricket, they get 50 times more social media traffic when he does it in one-day cricket than they do in Test matches.
Unreal.
It does show a little bit where the sort of game is at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I just said there, the Indian market is massive, and and having kind of private owners come in from overseas. Obviously, you'd hope there's some English owners there as well, and just to push the game on to that next level.
Now we've been following you on social media as we do. You've been training quite hard in lockdown.
Yeah. So, cut a long story short, a friend, Tom Harris, has set me up on a 6-week kind of nutritional and exercise program just to keep the mind active, really. I'm sure I'm going to chat in a little bit about my role now at Brentwood School, and obviously with some time away from there at the moment, it's given me a little bit of focus, which I've actually really enjoyed. So Brett, if you fancy taking it up after, then you're
Go on.
To shout.
Mate, I'm getting towards 100,000 steps over the last week with work and that, and you know, maybe a couple of weeks down the line I might need it, but at the moment I'm struggling with those.
It's impressive, some of the stuff you've been doing now, Jakey. I've seen some of the videos and that, and yeah.
Yeah, look, I enjoy the bike ride. A few years ago, I think it's back in 2013, 15, I'd done a couple of the PCA big bike rides, raising money for obviously the PCA, the Benevolent Fund, which are great causes, helping past cricketers and current cricketers through life struggles that come about. You know, later down the line, I know they've helped a few people in and around the Essex area. So, you know, it was a good chance to get the bike out again. And obviously the roads are slightly less busy than what they would have been, and you know, get the head down and get the crank churning.
Just taking you back to your Essex days, we had Hoddy on a couple of weeks ago, Dave Masters, to those that don't know. Your career with Essex seemed to sort of span that period of, you know, Division 2, trying hard but sort of struggling, to you know, the glory days that have sort of happened over the last couple of years. But you were sort of there throughout that trajectory. I know you were quite young when you first turned up at Essex. What did you see that was going on? Were there signs back then of greater things to come? With you know, the seeds of success were already sown, did you think? Yeah,
definitely. And I think, like I said, I've spoke a little bit about this before to yourself. You know, we were kind of up and down. We went up and then we came back down. This is in the Championship.
Yeah.
And then obviously there was some kind of my early days. There was some. They won. You know, we won the 50 over competition. I wasn't involved in that, but the 2008, I think it was, at Lords. So yeah, look, the players were always there. You know, we had great senior players in terms of Dave Masters, your likes of Graham Napier, Grant Flower was then finishing up, obviously James Foster throughout the whole period of time. And it felt like it just took that little bit of change for it all to click into place. And us as players, we felt like we were close. And it just needed that little bit of change. Obviously, Ravi Cookie was around occasionally as well. But that slight bit of change in 2016, Paul Grayson moved on. Chris Silverwood, who was with the second team, and he'd been building up for a couple of years with the second team, and kind of, it was really interesting how he had to change in himself to become from this northern fast, aggressive bowler, very hostile, probably very rash. As a bowler, obviously, I didn't face him, into a coach and a leader. And you could see that going on behind the scenes. And I was fortunate enough to captain the second team through some of them years. And, you know, you felt that. You felt like he was really buying into, right, I want to be the best coach I possibly can. And obviously in 2016, I think it was 2016, yeah, he got that opportunity.
That's right, yeah.
Where we then obviously won that was the year I got released. We won the Division 2, and then it was just the case of, right, they've got that momentum going now, and it felt like players were then in their roles that they needed to have been put in previously. And that's, you know, sometimes a little bit of change is required for that to happen. Obviously Tendo took over as a leader, brilliant leadership, you know, the trust with all the players. Communication was excellent. Like there was no one didn't know where they were each day, rocking up to games, not knowing what was going on. And then obviously that allowed Foz, who had them pressures of captain for the years leading up to that, to just go and do about what he does excellent, and that is being outstanding, probably one of the best, or definitely the best I've played with wicketkeeper, and scoring very, very valuable runs at number 7.
Jake, what was your highlight at Essex, or was there a couple of highlights?
Yeah, do you know what? It was, the promotion in 2016 was excellent because you just felt that was the first year Ryan was captain. And then I started off the season, I think I scored a couple of hundreds, and then I was released towards the end because the weight of runs got dropped off. And I just felt like, everything was then building up, for more success. So that would be probably one of the highlights of me, playing. And then early on, especially, I scored a big 100 at Durham. And then in 2013, I had my best year. Scored a double 100 and another 100. So yeah, that 2013 for me personally was probably my best year.
I think you was the leading run scorer that season, wasn't you?
Yeah, I think so. And then obviously we had the England game which was on TV, and it was a chance for me to kind of show what I could do.
Tom Craddock.
Tom done well. It was the game that started off as a first-class game, and then Essex ran out of players, and then we were borrowing England bowlers, wasn't we, and stuff like that.
Turned into a complete shambles.
Yeah.
That was when Tamal
cracked Swanee.
Yeah.
But I think Tom got injured, didn't he? Done his finger trying to field a ball, and
it kind of went downhill very quickly from day 2, halfway into day 2. Towards the end of day 2, yeah.
T pulled up injured, someone else pulled up, another one of the bowlers pulled up in that boy.
It was very hot as well, from what I remember.
Yeah, it was hot, and what they had to do was, because of the scheduling of the county games, they then had to squeeze the international game in. Obviously, Essex normally play against an overseas team, so whether it be West Indies, Australia, etc., and then leading into that Test series against Australia, I believe. England wanted a warm-up game, so we were then called upon to play that game fitted in between our county championships and obviously domestic campaign.
I remember Ravi at the toss on that one.
Yeah.
Ravi, you've won the toss. Yeah, it looks an absolutely great batting wicket. It's a great day for batting. We'll have a bowl.
So since Essex, you've been involved, it's about 2 or 3 years now, at Brentwood School as the cricket professional. How's that been? Yeah,
it's been really good. I've had 2 cricket seasons there.
Yeah.
This was about to be our 3rd, and it's been a big learning curve for myself. Obviously, coming out of the professional game into coaching, but the students have been excellent. And this summer I actually felt like we'd had our best first 11 team ready to go and compete, and we've actually just started a new independent school league, or it was going to happen, between 5 schools in kind of the East Anglian area, which we were going to participate in. So it's a little bit disappointing that that's not going to take place. But as Rhys spoke about earlier, and you guys have said, there's bigger things going on at the moment.
Those schools in the cricket is very, very the standard at the independent schools in our sort of region is eye-wateringly high, isn't it? I mean, as you know, I go along and watch school cricket quite a lot, and I never fail to be impressed by the standard of what's going on out there. I mean, there's some real talents going on from all of these schools in the area, not just Brentwood, but I think there's a lot of good young cricketers out there.
Yeah, and look, the schools in Essex, their part of their job is developing the next and finding the next Essex and England player. From my experience of the school, it's taken probably a year and a half, 2 years to really nail down the difference between, participation, because obviously we want to keep that recreational side of the game up, the Bs, the Cs, the D teams, and then working with the A team players, obviously on technique and on their game from a young age. At Brentwood Senior School, we get them at under 12s. Some of the others are still in prep schools at the other schools, so we get a good 6 or 7 years with them if they're throughout, and it will be nice to see how when I first started in 2017, that group of under-12s finish off in 6 or 7 years' time from then.
Yeah. Are there any girls playing cricket?
Yeah. So what tends to happen is we have obviously a number of county girls playing in the school, and they, at their young ages, they're up to standard with the boys. So they're good enough, they play.
Yeah.
And one of the big pushes in the area, and obviously nationally as well, is that we try and put fixtures on I know our under 13 girls this year played in a tournament at Essex indoors, just a softball tournament, but we're trying to then replicate the boys program with the girls program, because you get to under 15s first team level at school, and that little bit of extra power probably just overtakes that natural ability that some of the girls have. So for us, it's about, right, can we provide fixtures, because what we don't want to happen is that they drop out of the game, because that they're not up to standard with maybe a county under 14 boy player. But the skills are very good. There's some excellent bowlers coming through. We've got a 14 and a 13-year-old who are both county players who, like I said, they've played in the boys' A teams for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and it is, as I said, very, very good. And it's good to see sport being played at schools as well. That, there's a lot of talk generally about schools just sort of dropping sport from their curriculums, but it's good to see at the schools that we get exposed to that it's going on, and it is so competitive as well.
Yeah, the school prides itself on its sport, and long may that continue.
Well, there's a few hefty names on the old boys list, aren't there, at Brentwood? Obviously, Kishan Villani in terms of cricket, but Frank Lampard was an old Brentwood, wasn't he?
Yeah, apparently he was an exceptional cricketer. And yeah, there's a few others as well.
I think who was telling us about Gary Neville?
Philip Neville.
Philip Neville. That's
Philip
right.
Neville was England. He had the choice of playing for cricket for Lancashire or football for Man U. For some reason, he went for football and became massively rich.
Option.
Yeah.
But someone was telling us that I can't remember who it was now.
They're both very good, and the dad.
Phil Neville could have gone all the way
in
terms of cricket.
Gary was very good, and his dad apparently was an excellent cricketer, Neville.
Yeah,
what a great name.
And their sister is a champion gymnast as well, isn't
she? Gymnast or
netball?
Netball.
Oh, netball. Yeah, right.
I was say netball. So runs in the family.
Absolutely. Now,
makes you wonder how your son's so good at cricket, Darren.
Well, it skips a generation, I think. He's got a good coach these days, so that's right. Yeah. Right, away from cricket, horse racing is a big love of yours, which goes back quite a lot. You've been involved with horses for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, when we were players at Essex, we got invited over to Great Leeds, which is obviously now Chelmsford City Racecourse, and it kind of just escalated from there. One of my good friends is involved in racing in Newmarket, and yeah, like I said, it's kind of stuck throughout. Been involved in a couple of syndicates. It's a sport that you have to be very, very optimistic with, because there are more bad days than there are good. That is for sure. A bit like a batter, to be honest.
Have you got a leg or a tail in a few horses?
A hoof. No, I'm not involved at the minute. We're thinking about potentially in October, but we will see what happens with this. Obviously, the financial situation at the moment.
Jake, once again, thanks for joining us. It's been lovely to talk to you
Thanks,
again,
guys.
and hopefully when this is all over, we'll catch up properly, eh?
Perfect. Sounds good.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
Jake.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Catch up with you soon.
98 Not Out, sponsored by Shepherd Neame, proud supporters of cricket in Essex.